And you know, Kroger had them on sale for $1.99 for.
Welcome to tonight's meeting. This is the 7th business meeting of the Board of Directors of the City of Hot Springs, and we certainly welcome each and every one of you. Tonight, our invocation will be led by Dr. Jim Pennington, and I'll lead the Pledge of Allegiance immediately thereafter. Dr. Pennington.
Would you join me in prayer? Father, you are God Almighty, root of all creation, yet you're present here with us. We confess, Lord, that we need you and we ask for your help. We pray for our leaders, our elected representatives. Thank you that they're willing to serve the people of Hot Springs in this way. We pray that you would give them wisdom and guidance as they make decisions, sometimes very difficult decisions. Father, give us humility and patience and the ability to truly listen and hear each other. We pray for both justice and compassion, for reconciliation and unity. We pray that, like you, we would be compassionate toward the marginalized and work to help every person discover his or her dignity and live a better, more productive life. Thank you for the blessings of the abundant resources in this city. We pray for vision to do great things, creating progress and prosperity. Father, guide our leaders, bless our city, and make your presence known. In your name we pray. Amen.
Man,
Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I call this meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Davidson.
Here.
Jones.
here,
Clark.
Here.
Williams.
Here.
Garcia.
Here.
Foley.
Here.
McCabe.
Here. This time I'll consider approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or items to be moved from the consent agenda to new business? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Got a motion by Director Garcia, seconded by Director Foley. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Agenda is approved. Consideration approval of the minutes of April 3rd, 2018. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes as presented? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
may I so move?
Director Jones, seconded by
Second.
Director Clark. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda is approved. We have one proclamation for tonight that we're going to present to Denny McFate, Director of Public Works, for Arbor Days. Denny, please come forward. Proclamation, City of Hot Springs, whereas National Arbor Day is observed throughout the nation and the world on the birthday of J. Sterling Morton, who proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture in 1872 that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in all areas increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, beautify our community, and are a source of joy and spiritual renewal to many. And whereas recognizing the importance of a vital role trees play in our ecosystem, Hot Springs, Arkansas continues the observance of Arbor Day on the third Monday in March of each year. Now, therefore, I, Pat McCabe, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, on behalf of the Board of Directors, do here proclaim April 27, 2018 as National Arbor Day in Hot Springs, Arkansas. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the city to be affixed on the 17th day of April in the year of our Lord, 2018.
Say March.
I think it's April.
Thank you, Mayor. next Friday, Arbor Day for us, for the city of Hot Springs. We're having a gathering out at Energy Park. We have about 300 fifth graders from Hot Springs Intermediate School coming from 11 to 2 next Friday. We invite those folks who would like to come attend and see what the festivities are about. We'll have between 8 and 10 booths set up for different aspects, recognizing Arbor Day. And we'll also be planting a tree in commission for this Arbor Day for the kids to participate in. So thank you again.
Thank you very much.
You.
This time we'll hear the city manager's report. Mr. Frazier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
First, I want to mention that we have the it's our Intercity Transit Free Ride Day, April 21st, to encourage Hot Springs residents and visitors to park the car and go green. Hot Springs Intercity Transit will host a free ride day all day on Saturday, April 21st, with a special emphasis on enjoying the city's park system during Earth Day weekend. Buses will run fare-free from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Families are encouraged to plan a trip to one of our local family parks or enjoy a picnic and go fishing. Also, Spring Fling is April 28th to the 29th, and that's our solid waste department's popular citywide cleanup, and that takes place Saturday and Sunday, April 28th and 29th. Roll-off containers will be placed throughout city districts for free disposal. It's an ideal opportunity to clean out the garage. I'm doing that. You can rid yourself of appliances, yard waste, and even furniture, large bulky items, and more. Check the ad in Sunday Sentinel Record or watch City 12 on Resort TV Cable, or you can call 321-6911 for the list of drop-off locations. Also, District Court will be closed on Thursday and Friday for the Arkansas District Judges and Clerks Association Annual Conference. Court will reopen at 8 a.m. on Monday, April 23rd. For details regarding online payments, case information, court dates, and so on, visit the District Court page under www.cityhs.net. And then we have the National Drug Take-Back Day. That's going to be Saturday, April 28th. And that's a day that you can bring expired or unused pharmaceuticals to the Hot Springs Police Department, no questions asked, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and drop those off for a safe disposal. There's a secure drop-off box in the front lobby. You can also bring in your items for any weekday from 8 to 5. I think this is really important because our opioids are out of control in this state, and this is often a place where it gets started. So look at your medicine cabinet. If you don't need it, please participate in that event and get rid of them. Also today we had an operational press conference. Yesterday a one-day warrant roundup operation was conducted with the Drug Task Force, the Hot Springs Police Department, Garland County Sheriff's Office, State Police, Arkansas Community Corrections, Special Response Team, the U.S. Marshals, U.S. State Department, and Homeland Security. That's a lot of agencies, almost one agency for every 2 individuals that we arrested. There were 24 in total arrested as a result of those efforts. Numerous subjects were charged with drug-related and other felony charges. And I just want to say thank you to the interagency cooperation that we have with our great law enforcement partners and the leadership of Chief Stacey and his staff. These are not petty thefts, and I'm really thankful that we have jail space for them and that they're going to be prosecuted. And Michelle Lawrence, our district attorney, I saw her today too, and this is just one more step. We're going to keep this going. As you know, in the last 2 years, I think we've had about 7 of these, and we'll be continuing to have them as long as we have a crime problem, and our overall goal is to reduce crime in our city, and we're on our way to doing that. And that's my report.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Frazier. This time we have announcements of upcoming events by the various directors. Any director have an announcement of an upcoming event?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, Director
The
Jones.
21st from 2 until 5 o'clock at the Malco Theater, the historic Malco Theater. We will have, this is the Gateway Community, will host the UAPB Vesper Choir. And if anybody need a ticket, see me first, because I haven't sold any. Thank you, Mayor.
You're very welcome, Director Jones. Director Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to remind residents that next week, April 23rd, is the deadline to register to vote. We have an election next month, and the 23rd, if you are a new resident into Garland County, you can register to vote at the county clerk's office. Also, you can obtain a free ID from the clerk's office for your ID, voter ID. And early voting starts May 7th.
Very good. Thank you. Any other announcements? Very good. Tonight we have, in addition to the consent agenda, our other action items include a public hearing, one resolution, and 4 ordinances. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. These are items that are generally of routine in nature and do not require discussion. Do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of the consent agenda.
Director, we have a motion to approve. Director Jones is a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is approved. The public hearing at this time will call for a public hearing to order. I noticed that we may not have had, did we have an actual public hearing sign-up sheet?
No, sir.
Okay,
just
so I know we had some individuals sign up for the actual ordinance, so I'm going to make the assumption they wanted to talk on the actual public hearing component of this meeting. So I'll just go in line here. Mr. Forrest Spitzer.
Mayor, members of the City Board of Directors, my name is Forrest Spicer. I reside at 261 Hay Meadow Lane in Hot Springs.
Forrest, before you go any further, let me make sure I didn't fully explain what the public hearing is about. The public hearing is on the issuance of waterwork revenue bonds. I apologize to those at home and in the audience. So, Mr. Spitzer,
All right,
please
thank
continue.
you very much. I am here to speak favorably on the Waterworks bond issue. I'm a native of Garland County. I've been in the financial services business for over 3 decades, and I'm currently serving as chairman of the Hot Springs Metro Partnership and also the National Park College. I'd like to say some of the basics, which we all should take for granted, that water is essential to life. It's also essential to our community's development, and it's critical for economic development. It's becoming scarce around the country, and we are certainly blessed with abundance of lakes and streams and springs. Quality water is important to the sustainability of life and the growth of our community, the service to our visitors, and vital to our local economy. The Hot Springs Metro Partnership embarked on a strategic planning initiative called the Vision 2020, and those 4 critical items are business retention, expansion and attraction, downtown development, retention and recruitment of talent, which would be workforce, and the quality of place. And I submit to you that an abundant water source and distribution process is critical for the fulfillment of that strategic plan as it relates to economic development in our community. Many community leaders, such as yourselves and several others that I've known over the last several years, 10+ years, have been studying the process of additional water sources. And we've come to a point where now the City of Hot Springs is positioned to move forward to bring more water to our community. We still have ways to go for completion before the water actually hits the tap at the end, but your favorable vote sets this next stage in motion. Many of the business community and residents and workforce members in our community that I've spoken with are all supportive of our efforts to have an abundant water source. Thank you all for your work and your careful consideration of this. I congratulate you on this massive step forward progress in our community. I thank you.
Thank you. The next individual signed up to speak is Mr. Gary Troutman. Please come forward and restate your name and your address, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. My name is Gary Troutman, representing President and CEO of the Chamber at 659 Ouachita, personal residence 451 Lakeland. I'd like to echo everything Forrest said, and I'd also like to read, if I may, an excerpt of the December 19th edition of the Democrat Gazette. The headline of the story is Northwest Arkansas Water Needs Set for Years. Northwest Arkansas residents should be able to rely on an abundant water supply for years to come as local governments and water suppliers constantly update plans to handle the area's growth. Water is the key to everything, according to Rob Smith, Communications Director for the Northwest Arkansas Council. We're growing at a rate of 27 people a day, and that's going to mean more housing, more industry, more businesses. Having a reliable source of water is the key to all that. Smith said water infrastructure is recognized as a crucial element of growth nationwide. He pointed to a study done for the Washington, D.C. area the council is eyeing as a model for a similar study for Northwest Arkansas. It's been established that we've had a crisis in 2012 during a particularly dry summer, over 50 days of near capacity usage, and commend you all for tackling this issue. But as Forrest said, not only will this rectify that situation, but it will allow us to go forward and know that our water is taken care of for not only the rest of our lives, but for a couple more generations to come. You know, we're working on other things. I've talked to you all more than once on broadband, and having ample water is just another arrow in our quiver when we go and call on site consultants, as we'll be doing the rest of this week. So would encourage you to vote for this. And on a personal aside, I'd like to commend Bill Burrow for 13 years of working on this project on Lake Ouachita and making tonight a reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Bob Driggers. Mr. Driggers, please come forward and restate your name and your address, please.
Yes, Bob Driggers, number 3 Stonegate. I am a water customer. I would like to point out a couple of things to you. One is the fact that you're getting ready to spend $110 million, or at least issue $110 million worth of bonds over the next few years. That, in my view, are unnecessary. My biggest complaint is the fact that you have, again, getting ready to do this without a vote of the people. Only a vote of you 7 people sitting here tonight are going to dictate and impose over $3,000 for every man, woman, and child of debt that they're going to have to pay. This public hearing was poorly noticed. I didn't find out until this afternoon. I went on the website to find out. I'd recommend you have a real public hearing and notice it and allow the public to come and participate and make presentations, not 3-minute presentations. $10 million would suffice for what you need to do, primarily because of the fact you never had a water crisis. You don't have a water shortage. You have a problem with leaks in your system, and you're losing sometimes almost half of your water. If you look at what CAW in Little Rock is doing, they had a rate increase, and they're spending their money on fixing the leaks. Be good if we could do that instead of just buying more supply to put into a leaky system. Plus, you have 10 million gallons a day already available that you're not taking advantage of at your current treatment plant below Blakely Dam. So I've got other comments to make that we'll get to once you're in the section where you're actually passing these bonds, which I'm sure you're going to do. But this is a massive increase. Mr. Spicer was correct. It's massive. $110 million you're imposing on your customers. Mr. Troutman talking about how they needed water in northwest Arkansas. Folks, Hot Springs is not growing. Northwest Arkansas is growing. So I would encourage you, adjourn this hearing and have a real public hearing and invite the public and let the public know what's going on. And you're getting ready to do an emergency here in a little while. You just mentioned Mr. Burrow's been working on it 13 years, and all of a sudden, it's an emergency.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak during the public hearing on the issuance of waterworks revenue bonds? Anybody else would like to come forward and speak on the issuance of waterworks revenue bonds? Seeing no further members of the audience wishing to speak, we'll adjourn the public hearing. First item under new business is Resolution R 1856. And I'd ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R 1856, a resolution approving the 2018 annual street paving program. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Motion by Director Clark, seconded by Director Garcia. Mr. Carnahan,
Thank you, sir.
City Engineer, give a report.
Just wanted to review this quickly with you that the Denny McFate with our Streets and Public Works Department and the Engineering Department have worked through the list of potential streets that we've rated and ranked, and we've checked them against utility company conflicts. And so we're presenting to you today a list of actually 27 streets that cover about 7 miles scattered all around the city for our 2018 paving program. And this includes the 7th Street and Fox Pass paving that is being funded 90% of that by a state aid street grant from through RDOT. So together, the amount that's being paid from city funds is $744,386. The state aid street amount is $245,421. So the total amount for that paving is almost $1 million. So we'd like to ask you to approve this list tonight, and we already have our contractor under contract. And then with the weather being prettier, maybe we can start paving. You have any questions? Yes, sir.
Are we doing Fox Pass and 7th Street in phases?
With state aid street funds? Yeah, is that was your question?
Yeah. Are we doing them in phases? In other words,
in phases?
Yeah. Or are we doing them all at
no,
once?
Sir. The amount in Fox Pass cutoff that is in the city limits is a relatively short section. Most of it's in the county, and the county completed that paving with a state aid grant a couple of years ago. And then 7th Street, the portion that we're going to pave here is from the cemetery there at Greenwood Street to the new junior high location on Emory.
But we'll be doing it all at one time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just a comment. There's a street that I think is missing. I think I know what your answer is going to be. It's been on some past alternate lists. It's in my district, Jerome Street.
Right.
And
we have a utility. We have looked at that, and it does need to be paved. But there's a utility conflict that remains. So we're trying to get that cleared up. Maybe we can get it done and get it there next year. But I agree, it does need to be paved.
Yeah. But generally, I'm pleased with this list.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any further questions of Mr. Carnahan? Director Garcia.
Just again, thank you for leveraging the funds with the state aid funds so we can maximize the amount of street paving. I do hope in the coming years that we can find a way to have increase in our street paving budget for the future. I know we don't have it, and I know everybody's worked as hard as they could to do it, but we really do need more funds, don't we?
We do. Thanks for pointing that out.
And what's, just for my own edification, the current cost for a 1 mile hot mix overlay?
We're about $140,000 a mile.
Okay. It's gone up since I was in the business.
Yes, it has.
Every year.
Any further questions of Mr. Carnahan? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Carnahan. Any discussion? Anyone in the audience like to come forward? We did not have anybody sign up on this issue. Thank you. Any discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Well, we have a motion.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Call the roll, please.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Adopted.
Next order of business is to consider ordinance number 01811, and I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
A motion by Director Clark.
Second.
Seconded by Director Williams. All in favor of the motion to suspend the rules and read by title only, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is approved. Mr. Attorney, please read by title.
Ordinance 01811, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of waterworks revenue bonds for the purpose of financing betterments and improvements to the city's waterworks system, providing for the payment of principal and interest on the bonds, prescribing other matters related thereto, and declaring an emergency. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion and second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Very good. Motion to adopt? So moved. Director Foley, seconded by
Second.
Director Davidson. And individual leading this discussion is Doretha Yates. Or Bob, you're going to lead the discussion? Bob, please provide your name and who you represent.
Absolutely. Bob Wright with Cruz and Associates, city's financial advisor. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Frazier, members of the board, good to see everybody again. We wanted to come and give a quick update as to where we are ahead of the adoption of this ordinance, answer any questions you might have. I passed out earlier for you to look at just a couple of items, and I just want to highlight a few things. One thing that I really need to do is brag on your staff wholeheartedly. I know that you've seen the results. I've been doing this for 31 years and have worked with rating agencies countless times, and it's like going to the credit reporting agencies. Once you get your number, you're not really going to argue against that. That is your number. We send all of the credit package out to Standard & Poor's, who has rated your debt in the past. It's always been A+, which is a very strong credit. We sent that out. We had a long conference call with the analyst, and when he came back with the results, it was last Wednesday, I believe, he was about to had to run to get on an airplane, so I had about 5 minutes to kind of chew on him. But he said, we're going to drop the rating from A+ down to A, and here's the reasons why. I didn't agree with it, but I sent out the draft report to Mr. Frazier, Mr. Burrow, and Mrs. Yates, and immediately emails came flying back. It's like, this is not correct. His data, his calculations, his percentages of the rate increase are incorrect. When he landed, I got in touch with him. We set up a conference call for Thursday, and we spent an hour on the phone with him. We covered a lot of information. Mr. Frazier hit a lot of the high points of the city, the growth. This is a generational supply of water. And the analyst, and he had some senior staff as well, they agreed with that. This is a great project. They see this around the country. Those cities that take this step, they applaud. But he was not coming off of his analysis and his committee's analysis. And additional emails were coming in and comments from everybody. It wasn't until close to an hour in when he mentioned and said, looking at the data and your combined water and sewer rates, we think are at this level, and we think that's against your peers is a little bit high. It was 5 seconds later, and they all chimed in, like, that's not right. That your calculations and your assumption on our combined water and sewer, that's incorrect. He thought it was for water. What we gave you was combined water and sewer. And it was silence for about 15 seconds. And he's like, Okay. Maybe I'm incorrect. So we kind of hammered that issue home before we were off the call. Ms. Yates sent an email to him that we discussed and said, no, the water rates that we're talking about, and this is in your package, kind of what we're looking at, the water rates are at this level, well below what you were calculating on. He said he was wrong. He reconvened the committee that day, came back and did affirm the A+ rating, which is very good. Would not have happened without their insistence on getting on the call with him. Again, in my 31 years, you don't ever get that changed. And I didn't have any hope that was going to happen, but they really did go to bat for the citizens, because that's going to save you a lot of money. It's going to save your citizens a lot of money to have that type of credit rating. So they're to be commended for really stepping up, staring down the rating agencies and getting what the city deserves. So they did an outstanding job. I included the ratings report in your package. I included two other things in there. And one, I've got a statewide report of all of the water rates all over the state for every single system, about 800 different systems. But it's about 3 years old. This chart that I included in your package is just a number of months old. It was done just on all of the water systems in northwest Arkansas. I was working with a client of mine, and it shows the categories of 5,000, 7,500, and 10,000 gallon use. And I've just wrote some notes down. Ms. Yates provided the information to me. Just for instance, for a customer that uses 5,000 gallons, and this is after the rate increase that's been implemented to handle this project. For 5,000 gallons, the only systems in northwest Arkansas, and again, you're talking about a booming economy, people influx and all that, so a lot of people to spread out that cost. The only two systems in northwest Arkansas that would have a lower rate would be Springdale and Rogers, and you're sitting right on top of the Rogers rate. For 7,500 gallons, it's the same thing. The only two systems that would be cheaper than Hot Springs, Springdale and Rogers. And again, $25.65 for inside city residents, and Springdale is $24.26. You're basically the same levels as to what all of those cities up there, and again, you can see you're right up here with all of the cities in that booming economy up there. All these other systems are so much higher than you. So I think to secure a generational supply of water, as long as you've been working on this, there are cities, not only in Arkansas, but there's cities all across the country that would beg for something like this. So I wanted just to point out where the rates are compared to some other cities out there. Even after the rate increase to pay for this project, you're so far below your peers all throughout the state. You're in the lowest percentile in the state. So I think your cost of water, once you secure this project, is going to be very affordable. The only other thing that I included in there, we've looked at all the numbers as we've gone through this process, and you remember it's been exhaustive looking at everything. We've decided the contract you're paying to the Corps of Engineers to MAWA for the water rights. Historically, we've been viewing those, and other systems around the state have kind of viewed those as an operational expense. Talking with your bond counsel and talking with your city CPA, we're going to take the conservative step. We're going to start listing that as a debt. There is an interest component to it to pay to the Corps. So I've included that on the last page in there just to show you when it's all combined. We wanted to be conservative and show that it's not an operational cost anymore. We want to kind of list that as a debt obligation. So, tonight with the adoption of the ordinance, we are less than a couple weeks out from selling the bonds, locking in the interest rates, coming back to the board meeting the first Tuesday of May, or I think that's, and reporting the final results at that point. So we appreciate all of y'all's participation throughout this process. I know y'all have looked at it in detail, and it's been a long process. I will report to you, and I will give you exactly how much money was saved by being able to keep that rating that your staff secured for you. They did a great job.
Any questions of Mr. Wright? Thank you very much.
Thank y'all very much.
Now we'll go to the public, and we did have a public hearing on the issuance of these water bonds a few seconds ago, and I can call upon Forrest Spicer again. But Mr. Spicer, do you have anything that you would like to say different? Thank you. Mr. Troutman? No. Mr. Driggers, would you like to come forward? Thank you. I know we just heard your name and address, but if you could offer us one more time.
Bob Driggers, still at 3 Stonegate Heights. I wanted to point out, and I already have, that this is not really an emergency and shouldn't be considered an emergency, which you have at the end of your ordinance there for tonight's action. I think all of you are familiar with the fact that there was a joint Senate and House of Representative task force on water last Wednesday at the Capitol. And I was fortunate enough to attend. And I'm going to relate a little bit of what happened there. This is sworn testimony under oath from a few people talking about how they were impacted by this board primarily, but by the city's policy on water, especially not giving water to any commercial entities outside the city. As a matter of fact, one owner, the first one to testify, the city actually refused service within its own industrial park out by the college. Sworn testimony, if you want the details, after the 3 minutes, I'd be glad to give them to you. You know, you refused service to a Walmart out at Pittman and Airport Road several years ago. 480 jobs that would have created for this area. Those are gone. You know, recently we had a fellow who wanted to build 176 high-end apartments over on Thornton Ferry Road. He was denied, even after he had been promised that he would get water. Where do you think those 176 families would have shopped? Mount Ida? It would have been good for Hot Springs, but they were denied. The owner of 33 Sonic Drive-Ins testified that Hot Springs was the only problem area that he had ever had. Almost impossible to do business with you people. A lifelong resident of the city only needed minimal water sewer service for 2 restrooms on Highway 70 West, but you deemed it commercial. Home Improvement Company denied water sewer. 7 South fella had an offer for a neighborhood Walmart, well over $1 million. Now he says his property is worth about $100,000 because it doesn't get water service. But anyway, one of the most interesting things that came out of this was testimony about how representatives of the city and municipal league actually offered what I would consider a $3 million bribe. So for $3 million and some of your county taxes, we can make this water problem go away. And you representatives of the city, I'm out of time, but you know who you are. I'd recommend seriously that you don't spend $110 million when it's not necessary.
Thank you. That is the list of those that signed up to speak on this issue. Were there anyone who came in later and didn't have a chance to sign in or would like to speak on this issue? Hearing none, we'll have discussion amongst directors. Director Clark?
Question, I don't know if this is for Brian or for Bob, but this is an emergency clause. Can one of you just kind of explain why that's part of this?
Yeah. The emergency in this situation has to do with the timing of the bonds and the rates that have been negotiated in order for us to be able to fund for this project using the bonds that are contemplated to be issued. We've got to put it in place now. Can't wait the normal 30 days.
Thank you.
Has nothing to do with whether or not there's water or there's not water. It has to do with the timing on the bonds.
In other words, the bonds might cost us more if we don't pass this emergency
Correct.
clause.
The trend is the rates are going up.
Rates are going up.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions of directors? Director Garcia?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to have a brief excerpt from a letter dated March 2nd, 2018, from Lance Jones, Chief Engineer of the Arkansas Department of Health, regarding Hot Springs Utilities and the water treatment plant. I'm just going to read a short excerpt, not the whole letter. We strongly encourage the utility to plan for increasing source, treatment, and distribution capacity to ensure that the future and current water demands can be met and sustained. Delaying may lead to demands outpacing the supply and treatment capacity and result in the Arkansas Department of Health issuing orders for new extensions and connection restrictions. So, according to the Arkansas Department of Health, we are taking the correct course in meeting what has already been identified as the capacity issues, and to move ahead with the work, including the statement, the overall age and condition of the treatment processes at the current plant are in need of more rehabilitation or replacement to ensure the reliability of the water capacity currently being provided. So without this, we may not meet current demands according to the Arkansas Department of Health, and would not be able to provide for future expansion. So before any restrictions could be lifted, it's my understanding we'd need the additional capacity.
Yeah, you're interpreting that correctly.
Okay.
You know, they could place a moratorium on future connections if we didn't take appropriate action. And I think that's where the health department has been very positive and complimentary of the city staff and the board of directors and city management in moving forward as we have.
And I don't know if this is on the website, but I see no reason it couldn't be on our website if it's not.
Any further discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Clark,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Foley,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. We do have an emergency clause, and I'd ask upon the city attorney to read.
Mayor, I'll read that in its entirety. Section 35 is the emergency clause. It is hereby ascertained and declared that the improvements are immediately needed for the preservation of the public peace, health, and safety, and to remove existing hazards thereto. The improvements cannot be accomplished without the issuance of bonds, which cannot be sold at the interest rate specified herein, unless this ordinance is immediately effective. Therefore, it is declared that an emergency exists, and this ordinance, being necessary for the preservation of the public peace, health, and safety, shall be in full force and take effect immediately upon and after its passage. That concludes the reading. Mayor, if you would entertain a motion and second to adopt the emergency clause.
Very good. Motion to adopt the emergency clause. Director Williams made the motion.
Emergency clause.
Seconded by
Second.
Director Clark. Please call the roll.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Foley,
Aye.
Excuse me,
aye.
McCabe.
Aye. Emergency clause is adopted. This time we'll consider ordinance number 01812, and I entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
Director Foley, seconded by
Second.
Director Garcia. All in favor to suspend the rules and read by title only, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion to suspend the rules is adopted. City Attorney, please read by title only.
Ordinance 01812, an ordinance amending the adoption section of the Hot Springs Animal Control Code, Ordinance 5827, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Motion
So
to
moved,
adopt.
Mayor.
Director Jones, seconded by
Second.
Director Davidson. And is who's our
Captain Everett.
Captain? Welcome to tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. Captain Walt Everton, Hot Springs PD. Chief sends his regrets. I think the pollen bug has bitten him today. He wasn't feeling well, so he drafted me. this is an ordinance to amend the 5827, and basically in layman's terms, is to allow the city manager the discretion to amend adoption fees. Our goal here is for every animal to have a chance. I am a rescue parent. I have 3 at home, and Lord knows I'd bring home 3 more if I could now. It changes their lives. It changes our lives. And we want every animal to have that chance. That's what it's about. We've also have agencies, nonprofit agencies, that have reached out to us, and they're wanting to adopt multiple dogs, up to 5. And if we can allow the city manager the authority and the discretion to amend those fees, it's going to give these animals a chance, y'all, and that's what it's about. It's going to help the people, it's going to help the community, and it will be in special events where we have adoption parties, and like I said, gives him that authority, and that's our goal here, is to get every dog a chance.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Walt.
Well, the plain meaning of this is to give the city manager, not as designee, but only the city manager the authority to do this, correct? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have not had anyone from the public that has signed up to speak on this issue. Any discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Williams,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. This time we'll consider ordinance 01813. I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
Motion by Director Foley, second by Director Garcia. Council, please read by title.
If you'll call the roll on that motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Call the roll.
Well, or voice void. So.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Thank you.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Now, Council, please read by title.
Ordinance 01813, an ordinance amending the subdivision code of the City of Hot Springs, Arkansas, Ordinance 5957 as amended, to establish a planning area boundary and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Very good. Thank you. Motion to adopt.
I move for the adoption.
Director Williams, seconded by Director Foley. In our,
I'll handle this one, Mayor.
okay,
I'll handle
City
this
Clerk
one.
Lance Spitzer.
Thank you, sir. I'll handle this for Ms. Selman. She sends her regrets as well. This item comes to the board requesting an amendment to the planning area boundary. So just a little background on why it's coming to the board for an adoption. There's a couple things at play here. One, Arkansas Code 1456 413, that deals with territorial jurisdiction. So that's planning area boundary, if you will. Back in 2013, the board of directors did amend the original planning area boundary. We've had one in place since the 60s, so they do get amended from time to time. The one from 2013 was amended following some legislative changes where it reduced your territorial jurisdiction for cities of certain sizes. Obviously, Hot Springs, approximately 35,000. Our boundary went from 5 miles to 1 mile. So with that, that's the state code section. The Hot Springs Code 1649 deals with your subdivision regulations, and that's really where you get the request that's before you this evening. The request is to amend that planning boundary map to take from the existing city limits on the north end, extend that out 1 mile. So the applicant, the requester this evening, is National Park College. They're requesting to have their property within the planning area boundary. The property itself is approximately 104.5 acres. So I believe I've got a map here. It's a little tough to see since it does cover the entire space of the city. However, the crosshatch section that the cursor is on there is the 104.5 acres. So the existing boundary is shaded in the blue there. So the request this evening made by National Park College to be included in the planning area boundary is to include that section within the city's territorial jurisdiction. So with that, the application was made and a duly advertised public hearing was held on April 12th, where they took any testimony from the public. Following that testimony, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of that. So that's why it's coming to the board to amend the planning area map. Just a little background also, whenever you have an annexation ordinance, whenever you annex property, that in itself, as you move the territorial lines, does not change the planning area map. There has to be a subsequent ordinance that comes before the board to adopt the changing of that particular map. So the ordinance before you this evening will address the section that is crosshatched, as well as the remaining portions of the city which are in that 1 mile territorial jurisdiction. And this map that is listed as Exhibit A in the ordinance itself will be recorded with Garland County and obviously kept on file here at the City of Hot Springs. That concludes your presentation.
I'd like to point out, Mayor, just real quickly, if someone takes a really quick glance at that map, it resembles Lake Hamilton because of the color and the location of where it's situated. It does include part of the lake, but the light blue area is the current planning area.
Correct.
And Lance is correct. The state law does authorize up to 1 mile. City of Hot Springs does not exercise that authority to the full 1 mile extent in every direction. We must confine ourselves to within that 1 mile, and this area would be.
Lance is, the way it looks to me from looking at the map is that the National Park College is the only property within the Mid-America Industrial Park that is asked for this.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. The applicant did make application. There were two other properties that were not included. The applicant did say that it was only to impact themselves. The other two properties were excluded from that. So in the legal description that is part of your ordinance, you can see the sections here and here that are excluded from that legal description. So those are two properties, two businesses that were excluded from this planning area boundary amendment.
Director Foley.
Lance, would you explain for the viewing audience what is the significance of expanding the planning area other than the boundary? There's going to be some benefits to that.
Oh, sure. The planning area itself, there are several benefits within it. Obviously, with the college campus, the planning area, there are various planning and zoning requirements that come with it. So with that, site plan approvals, there are also utility connections and things of that nature. So being within the planning area, obviously, the city does have zoning classifications that protect property rights and property values within it. So obviously, being within the planning area, the boundary map does have some benefits.
Thank you.
Thank you for that explanation. Any further questions or comments of directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Garcia.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. Our final action item of the evening is to consider ordinance 01814, and I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
We got a motion by Director Garcia, second by Director Clark, to suspend the rules and read by title only. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion is approved. Council, please read by title.
Ordinance 01814, an ordinance prohibiting the installation of natural gas or liquid propane meters on or intruding into the public walkways within the city of Hot Springs. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion and second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Motion to adopt.
So move.
Second. Motion by Director Jones, seconded by Director Foley to adopt. Mr. Albright, are you the lead on this?
I'll be happy to do that, Mayor.
Thank you.
With the redevelopment that we've been experiencing downtown, one of the issues that has cropped up is an appearance of gas meters and other combustible type meters within the public walkways themselves in downtown. And with the with the tight geographical boundaries there where there's not a setback, everyone trying to use the pedestrian sidewalks, it really is creating a potential danger for our motorists and our pedestrians as well as the property owners themselves. And the City of Hot Springs wants to provide a safe environment for all of those individuals. If this ordinance were adopted, henceforth, any type of meter such as that would be prohibited within such a walkway.
Any questions of Mr. Albright? Hearing none?
Botley,
Call
Aye.
roll.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Stopped.
At this time, we'll entertain Board of Directors' comments. Go ahead.
I just had a question. There was an article a couple of weeks ago about some members of the Business Improvement District being in arrears, and I just wondered if there's any financial impact to the city, if we could receive any update on that or just send it to us. I hadn't heard anything since I read that article, and I don't know if there's any other financial obligation to the city other than those dues, or if they paid us or they're collecting, or what the status is.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Director Garcia. That's a CBID number 3. So those particular properties, they pay an assessment and a maintenance fee tax as well on those properties. And I can check into that as far as those that are in arrears, because they do pay a sum of $22,300 to the city for the maintenance of the upkeep of those improvements, and obviously any type of shortages in those funds would obviously impact their ability if they, depending on the fund balance that they have moving forward.
That's what I wasn't sure of.
Yeah, I can check that.
But the enforcement of that provision calls for the district itself
Sure.
to enforce it upon its members, correct?
It does. That's
Okay.
correct, not the
So
city.
the city has no liability nor loss of revenue?
No, that's correct.
Thank you.
Unless they don't pay.
No, the district has to pay. The individuals don't pay us, the district pays us.
Right, the district.
And the district itself has enforcement capability upon the individual members. So it does not impact the city.
Director Williams.
Well, it's political season. This is a pet peeve of mine, but the only place that political signs may be placed are on private property with permission. Once again, I am observing political signs being placed in the public's right-of-way. This could be the city, this could be the county, this could be the state. I well remember when I was county judge, one time a justice of the peace called me to complain and say the highway department is killing my campaign because they're pulling up all my public signs on this particular highway. And I said, do you not realize that you have no permission to ever place signs in the public right-of-way? All the highway department is doing its job. So anyway, but that's just a reminder, and I just ordered 100 yard signs today myself. They won't be going up soon, but if I should, through the actions of a supporter, violate that rule, I hope somebody will call that to my attention, as I'm sure they will. But I have seen right-of-way violations already, and I think a lot of candidates or their supporters are simply unaware of the law. But ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Thank you for that public service announcement. Any other comments by directors? Director Clark.
Just one more compliment. There have been a lot going around, but particularly to Bill Burrow, a survivor of 13 years of trying to get water. This feels like another great milestone tonight, and David and Doretha and everybody who's been working on this. Good job, you guys, and we're excited to move forward.
Any other comments? Before Director Jones makes a motion to adjourn, intercepted her there. This Friday, we have the this is actually could have been stated earlier. We have a Corvette show here in town, very wonderful Corvette show. There'll be a parade starting at 4 o'clock. They'll line up out here at about 3:30. So, and then there's a show at the convention center at from 10 to 2 on Saturday. So if you interested in Corvettes, thinking that you can get in one and still climb out of one, you can. They won't let you get in or get out. I guess if you find your way in, they'll pull you out. But there'll be plenty of Corvettes there to look at. And this year, Director Williams, they have a new trophy. It's called the Mayor's Selection. So I get to pick a Corvette. So
You're looking at me like I have
no,
a
I'm
Corvette.
This is not a George Jones.
Well, look over here to these directors.
I wish I had a Corvette, but no, I don't have a Corvette.
I'm going to do some homework so I make sure I pick a very good one.
Right.
And this last night, Director Garcia and Director Jones and I attended a Town Talk Community Discussion number 2, sponsored by the Difference Makers, on our at-risk youth in crisis. So it was a well put on event at Roy Rowe Auditorium at Hot Springs Superintendent's complex there in town, and that was well received. And last Thursday, I participated in a trash bag walk sponsored by the Washtenaw Children's Center in concert with CASA, court-appointed special advocates. And, that was a little different awareness-building event. Things that many of us do not experience in our lives or really maybe fully think about, how children at times are uprooted in the middle of the night from their families, or during certain hours of the day from their foster families, and the scenario is always the same. They're given a trash bag and they put all their belongings in a trash bag and walk out, and there's certainly no dignity, no self-esteem, no self-confidence, walking from one temporary housing to another with a trash bag over your shoulder or being dragged about. To think that everything you own, everything that you possess is in a trash bag. And this event was to certainly create awareness of it, but was also to provide kids in foster care within our community suitcases. And so there were suitcases, and they raised money for more suitcases. And so the court-appointed special advocates the following day was going to return to the transportation depot, gather up all these suitcases, and take them to kids in the foster care program. There was a walk involved in that to simulate us being uprooted with a trash bag. We all got a trash bag, and we walked from transportation depot down to just short of Grand Avenue on the walking bridge there over the creek and back. And, everybody had a joyful time, but you really have to think about what it's like to be that child, whether you're 5 years old or 15 years old, being uprooted and having everything you own in that trash bag and going to yet another, perhaps just temporary housing arrangement. So think about that, and those are two worthy organizations, OCC and CASA. So with that, Director Jones, I've concluded my remarks. Do you have anything to offer?
No, sir, but I move that we adjourn for the night.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded by Director Williams. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned, and drive safely.
Buddy.